Hello, it's Balky here for my second take of my Sorcerer Healer for Dungeon build video. Take 1, I didn't have my microphone plugged in, so that's fun. Right, I'll get straight to it and try to be a bit more organized this time and a bit quicker. I will show you, to begin with, my gear. So, Spell Power Cure is a given. You get it from White Gold Tower, you farm the heck out of it, and eventually get the pieces you want and transmute them. Second set is really flexible. At the moment I'm wearing Mending, which is a really good choice for trials in any situation where you have to stack and burn. So there are quite a few dungeons where you can do that as well. So that's one option. Other options include the Worm, Sanctuary. You could even go for something like Lamia to restore health when you use an ultimate. You could go for something like Combat Physician. Loads and loads of choices. Just look on the ESO wiki and you can go through all the light armor sets and see what you like. It's up to you. Now, I would recommend for your front bar, your restoration staff, I'm going to say almost definitively that this is the best in slot, the Master's Restoration Staff in the trait Powered. This is almost like Elemental Drain for stamina builds. This is something that Lilith, my healer main wife, tells me, and it really is true. I can tell the difference when she's using this staff and I'm tanking, as opposed to another healer who isn't using this staff. Your resource return is so much better, and in Dragon Bones, when blocking is going to be so much more expensive, this staff is going to be even more important. So get yourself through VDSA, kicking and screaming if necessary, and get one. Okay, point made. On the back bar, you've got a couple of options. Easy option really is to get yourself Asylum's Lightning Staff. You can do normal Asylum and grab one of these normal Asylums. Really not that tricky. You get a group with decent DPS and you can crack one out in 20 minutes. So there we go. I'll explain how that's useful. If you've got a Maelstrom Staff, you can also use that for a very similar effect. If you've got a random staff, just use it. This is just utility. This is the main one, okay? Right, I'm going to show you my CP next. Really straightforward. You want to min-max Blessed 100, Elfborn 100. That makes the most of your heals. The rest of my CP I've spread kind of evenly throughout the other forms of damage I'm doing when I am doing damage. So I've got 11 in Thaumaturge, 11 Master at Arms, 7 Elemental Expert, 1 Spell Erosion. I've got some points here in Shadow Ward to reduce block cost. I've got some 100 Arcanist, 100 in Tenacity to keep the magic up. The red tree is very flexible, so I loathe to really say anything about it. Keep your ward strong, put some points in Bastion. It also gets you this infusion passive. When you resurrect another player, you increase their magicka recovery by 818 for 8 seconds. That's really nice. So I would recommend getting that in there. These, again, they're just up to the situation. I've got them set up for, I can't remember what. That's up to you. Okay, on to the skills. This is the setup I used for doing a no death in VICP yesterday, and I got myself this horrible little guy at long last. That was so hard to get, and he's so ugly, but I got him, so hell yeah. Okay, we'll start on the front bar. This is the resto bar. Combat Prayer is a must, okay, because people in dungeons, if they're decent players, especially if they're magicka classes, they don't need a great deal of healing. And your job as a healer is not just going to be to restore the health they lose, but to buff everyone in the group, be prepared when they do lose health, and to add some nice statuses contribute a little bit of damage and to offer some burst when it's necessary. That's how I see a Sorcerer healer. Healing Springs is your bread and butter heal skill, and it's really cheap if everyone's stacked up. So it's really good, and it stacks, and it's great, okay? I've got the Twilight Double Bard. It's basically a breath of life for a Sorcerer, and it does a bit of damage passively. And because of the passives for Daedric Summoning, increase your health by 8% with a pet active, I can have 17,000 health with 7 light armor and everything put into Magicka. So that's really cool, because a lot of healers, Templar, will have to put some points into health. That's Lilith saying to me, because she thinks it doesn't matter. I agree, it generally doesn't matter. There's the odd situation where it makes a difference, but run whatever health you like. Okay, max Magicka. This is the important thing. I've got 40,000 max Magicka, and I've got 1,876 recovery. I wouldn't use this in trials. Way not enough recovery for trials, but for dungeons, it works just fine. Okay, I'm using Empowered Ward. You want to keep this up all the time as a dungeon healer in order to give everyone that minor intellect. You're concerned with your buffs, remember, not just self-preservation. So cast this every 10 seconds, you give everyone minor intellect all the time. Inner Light on both bars is going to be your flexi slot. If the conditions call for it, you can stick a Purge in there. If you know the group is going to be spread out, you can either put in Mutagen there in place of Combat Prayer, or you can put Mutagen there in place of Inner Light. If you need both Mutagen and Purge, you can put Mutagen there on the front bar and Purge here on the back bar. Another thing you can do is to use the Fighter's Guild skill. Either Turn Undead is really the better one because it lasts longer. And if you stick that in here, if your tank's not using it, you can use that, say, in the Execute of Mazatun, while everyone's stacked up to provide 8% damage reduction. So it's nice to have all of these flexible slots, and that's basically how they work there. But in most situations, unless there's some specialty mechanic, or unless you just like to have more skills and more utility, you can just slot Inner Light. That allows you to use trash potions, which are nice and cheap, and don't use all your Lady Smock and Cornflower. My ultimate there on the front bar, I've got Absorption Field, stuns all your adds as a massive heal over time. Really, really nice. On the back bar then, over to that, I've got Blockade of Storms, Crushing Shock for an interrupt and a bit of focus damage, double barring the Twilight, Elemental Drain from Magicka Steel primarily, Inner Light Flexi slot, and Thunderous Rage. This allows us to do quite a nifty burst. So if I just set ourselves up, we need to put the pressure on. Look at that. 17k DPS, 18k DPS, 19. Okay, so at times when it's necessary to put the pressure on, you can go and really do that on your back bar. Other times, I'll show you what you can use if you do. You just started healing or you're unsure about what to do in the role. I'll give you a bit of a rotation that you can use that might get you going in the right direction. So imagine this target the skeleton's blood spawn or just some other ordinary boss. Bloody hell, I'm disconnecting. So there we go. Okay, picking up where we left off, here's the rotation. So no science to this, just in general, you're approaching a boss. Okay, so I hope you got the picture there. I can put something down in the description. But you're providing all your buffs there, putting down a really nice amount of healing. That's keeping your ward up 100% of the time. It's keeping your combat prayer down, keeping healing springs ticking to give you those nice blue arms, keeping your blockade down, keeping Ele Drain up. There are times when you're just going to have to hold block and do this and pray to RN Jesus. But there are plenty of other times when you can follow a basic rotation that will at least point you in the right direction. A quick look at combat metrics will show that I put up 91% off balance time, 80% minor vulnerability. That's coming largely from the Asylum staff that applies concussion very reliably, in addition to the Blockade. So that is why the Asylum staff is so nice. It's giving huge off-balance times, and that's for going to increase the DPS for your whole group. It will still do so in Dragon Bones to a lesser extent, but for the next couple of days, have at it. 91% off balance time. That's going to drop to about 20%. But you'll still be able to provide everything the group needs in the next patch using this build. So thanks for watching. Sorry if it was a bit long. It was a hell of a lot longer for me. Enjoy this build. Hope it works for you. Go and get some achievements. See you next time, guys.